Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and we got a banger video for you. So you guys already know that there's a 3x event for speed artifacts in Dragon. This is the best time to farm Dragon to get the most amount of, probably one of the best sets in the game, right? Speed's king in this game. I'm going to show you guys my version of it, and we're going to try to farm it as much as possible on the hardest difficulty that is available to us today. Let's get into it. So before we get into the run today, I wanted to show you the main composition and how they work together and pretty much show you the rotation and how we execute getting through wave 1, 2, and eventually the boss itself. So we have SoulSaint. He's pretty much known for the dragon killer because of the way his kit works. We're going to be banking a lot on the value of his passive, which is going to reflect a lot of things that the boss puts at us back onto the boss itself. Our wave clear team pretty much comprises of Seer and Lydia and Mithrala, as well as Renegade for the resets going into wave 2. But a lot of the key components and how we have it set up are very interesting. So you guys might find some very useful information regarding it. So SoulSaint is going at a pretty decent speed, not too fast. He's going at 165. The main goal for him is, like I said, to exist inside the composition when we get to the third round, which is going to have the boss, and he's going to regen himself through regeneration gear, and practically just spank and tank the boss. He's going to reflect whatever comes at him using Untarnished, which is probably one of the best abilities that we have going against the boss, who puts decreased defense, poisons on the enemy team. Mithrala is pretty much here to give buffs for the Seer strip when she comes to the nuking the waves in both round 1 and round 2, but primarily towards the end part of the wave, you're gonna see her pretty much stick to just getting some extra poisons out to help us round out the last part of the fight. Lydia, of course, as well, is always going to be there just to provide as much decreased defense and weaken as possible. But in particular, in the third wave, she's going to have some value using poison sensitivity. So, you know, the poisons that we were reflecting back to the boss, as well as putting the boss on, putting on the boss themselves, we're going to give a little bit more amplification to it with poison sensitivity. At this point, when we get into the waves, getting through the waves, and we're actually fighting the boss himself, Seer and Renegade kind of fall off in terms of what we need from them. But if we get some extra complementary damage off through knockout, or through any of the lash outs or lingering pain that we have available to us at that point in time, then by all means we'll take the extra damage. But pretty much that's the long and short of it. We're gonna do the run, then I'll show you guys some gear and maybe some suggestions on improving a run. But it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. The main focus is just to buff up Seer so she can do her thing. Lydia being one of the best that provides debuffs as well as buffs. Mithrala providing some shields and strength in to get us to get that nuke in. And then it's pretty much just a rinse and repeat with Renegade resetting us later down the road. Now, because we had to delay one turn, we use Clan Banner from Seer just to open up. So we got an extra little buff going in there. And then follow that up with a little bit extra damage and a little bit of extra clear. You got your second pop. With the buffs, and this is where it's crunch time. So getting that poison sensitivity off, getting those extra poisons off, and then the boss is going to get reflected all those poisons back from SoulSaint, and then it's pretty much just a battle of sustain at this point. So I let Mithrala use her shields as well as a little bit of extra strength in from her A3, put more poisons out. At this point, it's all about just getting as much poisons out, keeping that debuff bar filled up, and letting this boss cook himself. So poison pops, we're refreshing on it. Now it's the battle between SoulSaint and the boss. Who's going to out-sustain who? Well, you're putting my debuffs on me. I'm going to put them back on you. Let's just see how it plays out. Just constantly battling back and forth, just surviving as much as we can. So it looks like we're getting kind of close, right? Well, not to fret. Poisons are going to go off from the boss again. We're going to go ahead and take the shot at him. And when he gets his next turn here, KO. That's pretty much the long and short of it. Now, I did want to show you guys a little bit of some extra nuances and some things that I'm going to be working on in the future to kind of help improve the efficiency of the team and just making sure it's just a little bit more safer, as well as a little bit more consistent, maybe even reduce the speeds of how long it takes for us to kind of get through the wave, maybe a little bit more effectively. With that being said, Seer's pretty much my main focus, but we do have some setup going into her with Lydia. Lydia is kind of in a mixed bag of sets. One Divine Speed, one Immortal set, and one Perception set. Realistically, the sets don't really matter on Lydia. The main focus was to get enough speed, a decent amount of accuracy, so that we can do the debuffs that we need to do while buffing up our team. Mithrala, on the other hand, is also in a similar fashion in the sense that, you know, trying to hit 250 plus speed, 368. Now, these speeds aren't required, but they are beneficial for me in other areas of the game, so that's why we have them at such a high speed. But mainly, it's just being able to supply the debuffs that are necessary to land them inside Dragon Slayer's Wear, which we only have extra speed being provided to us at this point in time. Stultus, and this is the big kicker, he's in 2 types of heal sets. He's got Immortal as well as Regeneration, which is providing him a lot of healings whenever he gets his turns. We do have him around like 84,000. I would like to get him closer towards 90, maybe even 100,000. The defense is pretty solid. At this point, though, it's just going to be a matter of amplifying our speeds, and since the debuffs that are being applied on us get reflected anyways, you don't have to really worry about too much accuracy or resistance or anything like that to get the boss down. But a little bit more speed would probably do me a little bit better, which is why, you know, those extra little points, they come in handy, you know what I mean? You got to watch out. But, you know, try to get him as fast as possible while maintaining a decent amount of HP and a decent amount of defense so he can tank those stuns, tank those hits that are being put onto him from the boss. Maybe even if you get like to a point where you're super healthy and you don't need to worry about the amount of healing you do, you could probably switch out for Defiant, since, you know, the boss himself is primarily just AoEing throughout the run. Seer is in a Savage set, one of my better pieces right now at the moment. We're looking to improve our Savage as we go along, but the main focus is just to get as much damage out of our Karma Bun as possible, right? So, you know, 100% crit rate, as much crit damage as possible, a decent amount of accuracy if we were going to try to strip buffs, which thankfully for this particular wave and this particular round, we're not worried about it. We're just trying to take all our buffs and pack a punch. So I'd probably beef up her crit damage as much as I can, while maintaining it in a decent ignore percent defense set like Savage. Fully booked, and I didn't mention this earlier, but my Mithrala is not fully booked in terms of her A1, so there's a little bit more of an efficiency standpoint from the poisons. Stultus has no books whatsoever. His masters are kind of in line with trying to go as survival and as fast and basically kind of keep the momentum going as much as possible when it gets down to crunch time. Mithrala also has a little bit of a mixed bag of, like, you know, War Master procs, some accuracy. You know, she benefits from her passive. The more accuracy, the more resistance she gets. So never a bad thing there to keep her going just a little bit better. I won't lie, maybe a little bit more HP will give us a little bit more shielding, which will then lead to us having a little bit more survivability. That may be something I may look up in the near future, but for the most part, the idea is to go fast, give good debuffs, and land them, and then just try to tank through the waves and eventually the boss yourself as you go along. Renegade, however, her set is the one that's actually important. I don't know if you noticed, we're missing an amulet here. Not that it matters. The whole goal, though, is just to make sure we give one extra buff while we're also providing a reset. So Sacrificial Ritual, giving that reduction down, would be usable, but we wanted to get more of her, so we added a shield set, so that's one extra buff that Seer, when she does her strip, amplifies her damage, right? So that's pretty much the focus for her. I wouldn't mind her being on top of the team's rotation, so that if we were to use her reset, maybe, you know, it'll speed up a little bit more. I think regardless, though, we still have to have our Seer go one extra turn in addition to it, because you would only reset down and she'd still have one turn cooldown. So, you know, if we were to get like a Yumiko or a Kaimar, I've been trying to get Kaimar for God knows how long, trust me, I've been trying. That'd be a much better placement in terms of efficiency of getting the team going a lot faster. So I'd probably put a Kaimar or Renegade at the top of the turn, so we would reset everybody's cooldowns. They would do theirs as if it was like wave 1, and it would equate to a much faster wave 2 clear going into, you know, Dragon. So I believe my fastest run was roughly around like 50 something seconds, if memory serves me correctly. But for the most part, I would say that these runs are pretty quick. They're not going to last that long. I think the longest I've ever seen it was like 1:20. But if you didn't see it, 52 seconds was my fastest run. So it's pretty quick, pretty efficient, get you in there, get you out. And when you're going into an event like this where you want to spend as much time and as much efficiency of getting these clears going down and you want to gather as much gear as possible, the faster the run, the better, right? So Stultus is one of the biggest ones that enables us to do it. But the main focus is keeping him alive, getting everybody through the waves done and as quickly as timely as possible. Eliminate any margin of errors to get yourselves through that fight as quickly and just rotate into this event going forward is definitely ideal. If there's any other champions you would use in tandem with this, I did think about Poison Explosion teams. You know, I do have a Theodore in sitting here that I even thought about somewhere down the line that I would like to do is be able to use a duo comp with Theodore and Stultus to maybe allow me to farm with the other 3 slots some food on top of that. That is something I'm going to try to work on as we develop our better regeneration gear, maybe even some bolster gear, something around those lines to kind of enable us to just to go the distance without too much of an issue. So next steps in terms of like efficiency farming is not only farming fast, but now we want to farm so that we can get benefit while we're also farming, right? So farming food, farming gear, that's going to be the next step. But for the most part, this is the team I use. Is there anybody else you would use that's different? Let me know. I'm curious to hear what y'all's thoughts are. Poison Explosion team, like I said, was one. I wonder if there's another spank and tank, maybe like a high mitigation team using Duchess, Pythion, or something like that, to name a few. When I first cleared this, I actually did use those champions, which is why I kind of nodded to them. But let me know in the comments. Let us know. Like the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. We definitely appreciate all the love and support. We are aspiring to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I wish you luck in getting your mythic speed pieces. That's going to be quad and penta rolled for you, all right? And with that being said, always remember, stay ascended.
So it's 100 on the floor.